Well, today I'm excited, as I've already said, to have the authors of the book Emotionally Free with us. Now, I suppose that Grant is technically the author, but his wife Kathy has spoken into his life so much. I'm glad she's here with us. You know, the first time, Julie, that I met Grant, I was actually hosting on 100 Huntley Street.
Okay.
And I met this guy in the back room. I didn't know what to expect. And within about 2 minutes, we were splitting our guts laughing. And that's really something for an anesthesiologist. I mean, they just put you to sleep normally. And
Oh my goodness.
anyways, I'm just saying it for what it is. Hey, Grant and Kathy, we're so glad you're with us today. Welcome back to the program. And,
Nice to be back with you, Mike.
And I just like to take shots at you, Grant, because I love you, man, as a brother in the Lord. And Kathy, you have become a real sister to us as well. And I want you, Grant, I never tire of a good story, even if you're telling it, with your lame jokes. Take us back to your journey on being an anesthesiologist to a mental health practitioner to how on earth you're on this program today.
Well, actually, Mike, thinking about the day we met on Huntley Street, we were killing ourselves laughing. But remember what the topic of the interview was?
I can't
Depression.
remember.
It was depression. It was a very
That's right, it
depressing
was.
interview. And so we just really weren't mentally prepared when cameras started to roll. So my story is I started out as an anesthetist. Now I have to compliment the people who do your intros, Mike, on the air. She actually said it correctly. Okay, like that's pretty impressive. So
I don't even know if I can spell it, let alone say it.
I know I can't.
I wanted to put people to sleep because that was God's first medical act. I knew it was God's will for me. He put Adam to sleep, so I just knew that was the divine indicator. And so I moved here to Grimsby, to a small hospital. So in the morning, I put people to sleep. I woke them up afterwards. And then, but in the afternoon, I was a GP because the ORs were closed. And in general practice, I was just shocked, stunned, and overwhelmed with people with mental health problems, emotional problems. And because I was a Christian, I attracted a large number of Christians. And so I had no idea that Christians were suffering emotionally because the church I grew up in, everyone was walking in victory. And so I saw all these Christians who were struggling. They didn't know who to trust, where to turn, what to do. And they assumed that they were weak, broken Christians. Yeah. And so I just started taking interest in mental health because they didn't know where to turn. So I thought I'd give it a try. And so I started to start treating depression, anxiety, and mood swings. And to my absolute astonishment, they started to get better. And then word started to get around. And then people started to come from all over North America. It took over my life. So I quit general practice. I quit anesthesia. And then I had a mental health clinic for about 25 years. And then after Kathy and I had a marriage crisis, God taught us the keys to healing of our hearts. And then we just thought, well, maybe other Christians ought to know that. So we started teaching it around the world. And then wrote the book to sort of summarize our message. And then now we have an online course where we teach it online.
Well, and going on from that, Kathy, tell us how that morphed into your marriage, just becoming involved in touching people's lives and really speaking into it further, into family ministry.
Well, when you are healed yourself of issues that have come up through your childhood and then relationship issues that develop as you get older, the natural thing for me was then to start bringing other people into that healing. And so I got trained and taught into how to pray with people and to allow or introduce them to hearing God's voice so that they could receive that healing for themselves. And so that just kind of was a natural flow for me. It complemented my gifts naturally, and I'm very happy doing that.
Well, we wanted to share with others what God had done for us.
And that's what's so wonderful, because that is so powerful when people share from what they've conquered. And I think that's what speaks so loudly through the two of you, that you've walked the walk and you talk the talk and you share that with people. So you're such wonderful examples.
Kathy, I'd like to ask you a question because as I've heard you share many times, both you and Grant often talks about people carrying baggage. And I'd like to talk about emotional baggage for a moment. But would you just describe what it is to us so that maybe our viewers right now can do somewhat of a self-diagnosis and saying, hey, what is it that I'm carrying? So when we talk about emotional baggage, what is that?
Excuse me. Basically, it's the accumulation of stuff from your past, from your childhood. So, as I was thinking about this interview, I think the Lord just sort of dropped this picture into my mind. So picture yourself as a child and someone disappoints you, or something didn't happen the way you expect, or you were treated inappropriately or something along that line. And it's almost like you're going to look at that person or look at life through a new lens. So it's like you've put on a pair of, say, light blue sunglasses. And then it happens again, and another layer gets added to those glasses, and then another layer as incidents and events happen. And so basically that's like your baggage getting filled up. There are different situations and events that happen in your life, and it each gets sort of put into a storage area in your past. And what it does is it colors the way you look at the rest of your life based on what's happened in your past. So it's your perspective. Your parents may never have intended for you to receive that correction in the way you did, but you did receive it that way. And as a result, you always look at life, I guess I'm just not good enough, or I guess I can't trust, or I guess God isn't loving, or whatever these perspectives and viewpoints are, become the lies that sort of determine the way our life goes. And baggage can affect everything in your life and how you approach it.
We have a test to tell if a person has emotional baggage, because lots of people we talk to, especially if they're guys, they say, I don't have any baggage, I'm fine. She has the problem. Here's the test. It's, do you ever overreact? Ever
or
to anything, or underreact when you should be reacting? But really, do you ever overreact ever to anything? That means your baggage is getting triggered.
That's very interesting. Overreacting or underreacting, it's still a trigger. Very interesting. Well,
I'm just trying not to react right now.
Well, also, we always talk about how we want to be happy, whatever that means. So what is the difference between happiness and joy, and can we have them? Can you explain why happiness is good medicine, and is that true in real life?
Well, who should answer that? Oh, okay, that's mine. Okay. Here's the difference, that the way it was explained to me that made sense. I mean, obviously happiness and joy, they overlap, and to most people, they're considered the same thing. But to a Christian, we separate them. So happiness is your pleasant response to circumstances that are ongoing in front of you. So in other words, it's your response to current events. But joy, to a Christian, is the state of your spirit. So in other words, it's something that flows from the heart of God into your spirit continuously. Or it's another way of thinking is, I like to picture it as it's an underground stream that runs underneath your spirit, and it bubbles up like a continuous fountain into your spirit, and you can draw from it like a well at any time, regardless of what's happening in front of you. So joy, in that sense, joy is independent of circumstances, where happiness is dependent on circumstances. So for a Christian, we can always have this inner sense of joy, which really is associated with peace, that continuously, regardless of circumstances. Now, that's easy to say. It's not necessarily easy to walk out. But when I read it, I thought, oh, that made sense. Not that I've mastered that. But anyways, that to me is the easiest way to separate it.
I think that's an excellent word picture. I'll have to try to remember that.
Well, stay with us for just a moment. We're going to be back with Grant and Kathy as we unpack more about what it means to be mentally and emotionally and spiritually well. We'll be right back.